Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 23rd, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary reason, and that is to remind everyone that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, yes, there are going to be some people that are upset with the idea. Okay, some people are so caught up in the fearful vibration and the idea of immediate gratification that they've missed the rest of the point. Okay, now I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the ones that I personally use in my own life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones that I personally live by. Okay, now I figured I would start off on a very different pattern today, but we're going to open the door first of all with saying welcome, Chad. Chad Smith podcast has arrived in. He's got the gold, and as you can tell, right at the top of the chat room, we have links to the various different podcasts that the people are coming in to share in this particular video, as well as ones that have influenced us. Okay, now the way I look at it, we have one of two paths that we can follow. Okay, we can keep looking to the past and talk about Joe, how we doing? And you're in with the silver. Glad you could join us. We can continue looking at all the things that went wrong or all the things that maybe you didn't get completed in the last year, or for that matter, in the beginning part of your life. We can talk about that, and we can continue living in fear of what comes next. Or we can make the choice to go, okay, the past is done. Now we're going to start moving forward. Okay, that's the path I intend on following. Raven, glad you could join us. And Raven, you come in with the bronze today. So I'm thinking I could drag things out, but I decided to take a look at the topic today and just go, here's our two choices. We can live in the past, or we can move forward into the future. Okay. You can choose to follow in the footsteps of fear, or forge a brand new beginning under the aspect or under the auspices of love. Now, there's only the two emotions, but you got to remember, they are two sides of the same coin. You have fear, you have love. Okay. And you have I don't care, which usually translates into I'm too afraid to move. But this is also how we've been raised. And when I say we, I mean people in general. Mr. L, you're in with honorable mention. Glad you could join us. Let us refresh this and see if we've got our closer screen so I don't have to worry about it. The reality of it is I got thinking about it, which is usually a dangerous idea, but yeah, you're going to come in and yell at me, aren't you? Yeah, pretty much. I feel, I got thinking about it. Now, when you think about it, what is the easiest way to look and to identify somebody? Because as people go, as corporeals go, we are taught to gauge everything based on what's going on around us. Now, what do you call somebody, regardless of who they are? What title, do you lay on somebody, or what quantification, if you will, that tells you, do what I tell you or I'm going to beat you. Do what I tell you or I'm going to punish you. Okay. Do what I tell you or I'm going to make your life miserable. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd love to hear what anybody in the chat room has to say. I'd love to hear from people outside the chat room, but the reality is that doesn't work well. I'm just opening my window here before I overheat again. But when you think of somebody that does that, when you think of somebody that tells you, if you don't do exactly what I tell you, what do we call that? And we'll take that back to school age years. If somebody threatens, if you don't give me your lunch money, I'm going to beat you up. Now, what do we call that kind of a child? Okay, what kind of a title or what kind of a classification do we tend to give them? And that's the first thing you want to look at. Well, you might not want to. Okay, if you look back in some of my older videos, you'll find that I did exactly there, Raven. We call people like that a bully. Now, let me ask you this. You're out now. We talk about spiritual guides and we talk about the industry leaders and all of these things. But what do all of the so-called almost all of the so-called spiritual guides, industry leaders, and politicians seem to have in common? What is it they tend to do? Okay. Do they not tend to tell you, if you don't do this, I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm going to take your luxuries away. I'm going to put you in solitary. I'm going to make everything you try and do difficult. And I'm going to stand here and I'm going to tell you, you're not worthy. Okay. You're useless. You're stupid. You're incompetent. You're not trying hard enough. These are all the things you're not doing. And why do they tell you that? They tell you that to make you feel worthless. Okay. Because if you're feeling worthless, if you feel like you've got nothing going for you, you're going to, in all likelihood, give up. Look at society around you. It's working like a charm. So many people turn around and just give up on their dreams because they've been told they can't do it. Greetings, Kimberly. Glad you could join us. Hope your day has been going well. Whenever and what people have been taught to do, and I do not blame our ancestors. Paul, glad you could join us. I really appreciate you showing up here, Kimberly. This is literally directly at you. Glad you could make it. If you've got a question, and it doesn't matter what the question, even if it's not about what we're talking about, okay, any question you have at all, absolutely post it. Absolutely post it in the chat room, but please put it in all caps so I can find the thing, and I will do my best to answer. Okay. Now, we take a look. I cannot blame. Kimberly, if you do like the video, if you do like the stream, please do give us a thumbs up. And remember, there's a little button in the right-hand corner there. There's a little button for subscription. Please do hit that if you'd be so kind. The thing I found is we have been taught, and this is why I don't blame the adults. Okay. I'll always start in the middle. As for how to start there, Kimberly, you always start in the middle, but absolutely post it in English, because quite frankly, that's the only language I speak fluently, aside from, slurries, mumblies, yawnies, these sorts of languages. But you get the idea. Also, if you've got questions that you'd like to ask that you don't necessarily know how to ask, or you don't want them out in public, there's a whole list of ways of contacting me below the video. Absolutely reach out to me on any one of them. Okay. No, the reason I don't blame the people that have been teaching you is because they were taught the same thing. Okay. Now, when I talk about spiritual guides, I literally am including, and I know this is going to tick some people off, and I got over it pretty quick. Okay. Absolutely, Mr. L. The people here, I cannot compliment them enough. Well, I could, but it'd take too long. The people here are very open-minded, and extremely open-hearted. The reality of it is this. And I know this is going to upset people. Okay, and I get over it pretty quick. As people, as you know, if you've heard me before, subtlety is not my strong suit. I avoided talking about a lot of different topics because I was trying to avoid complications. Well, the reality is I can keep avoiding them. Okay. Hey, bonus. Yeah, I have no doubt. Curiosity there, Kimberly. If you don't mind me asking, because I'm getting told it's been going on for a while here, but how long have you? Oh yeah, we absolutely do that as well. This is why I said ask about any question you have. I start off on a topic, but you'll find I jump from one end of the scale to the other. Okay. Wait, friend, just to put you in just to put things in perspective for you here. In a nutshell, I started my interaction with aliens, with the off-worlders, when I was born. Okay, that was also the same time that I started my mediumship work. See, I was told that I have to stay in my body to experience life. I spend most of my time out of it because, frankly, I really got fed up with this place. But here's something just to give you an idea of how much we do discuss, or at least I deal with UFOs. Okay. This particular book, this one contains 59 individual races that I've dealt with firsthand. Okay. That I've dealt with face to face. Yeah, well, there's no question there. The funny thing there, Mr. L, is your faith has taken you a long way. The drawback of what I've seen, and the nice part about it, oh, by the way, Kimberly, in case you're wondering, 95%, as a matter of fact, I think every one of the races I've dealt with believe in some form of God. Quite often the same one we believe in. That's what we call hybrid. Okay. And just to be clear, there are approximately that I know of already 12 different reptilian races. Okay. And many of them I cover. I've got volume 1 out. I've got the first book out. I'm working on volume 2. But, so I mean, we're dealing with a lot. And I don't think, honestly, well, I do my best not to. It confuses me. The reality is that whatever you have dealt with, okay. Oh, nice, Joe. Kept my day. Well, the neat little part, the one thing there, Joe. Many people. Yeah, that's a twisted question, but we'll ask it anyway, Joe. The last that you saw tending the graves, was she solid or was she translucent? I realize she was edgy, but some people get that way in graveyards. Well, the nice part there, Kimberly, is many hybrids. It's funny because when you start dealing with hybrids, many of them are just as edgy about pure blood corporeals, pure blood humans, as the humans are about them. But I do have an interesting question for you. Did you happen to notice how many fingers the individual had? And yeah, I know that's a weird question. You'll find that weird questions are just plain normal here. No, it was funny on my, like I said, the reason I don't blame people for the way they're teaching others is because this has been going on for centuries. Oh, perfect. Here, I'll make this one easy for you. Just got turned to my keyboard, which is why I'm moving sideways. Just send it. This is the email to just send. I should do this so I can do it. And that's what I'll do. Why not do that while I think about it? We just set that there, and then we go. What I'm doing is just getting my email set out so I can actually cut it over there easily. Okay. Then we just go copy. And Kimberly. Oh, I hope it wasn't one of the ones I ran into. This is the email to send it to. Okay. If you send it to me, okay, I will. That one, I keep the email open, so I'll be able to get it right away. And I might just be able to get an idea as to which race you're looking at a hybrid of. I've got somebody else that has to deal with drawing for me. What do we got here? Oh, yeah. You notice, though, that the ghosts hanging out in bars have this little bit of a problem. They drink a staggering amount, but they really don't get drunk well. But the floor below them tends to get really wet. You know, the one thing that we do try and do here, Kimberly, and yes, I realize for those of you that are joining us, I'm directly talking to a brand new visitor to our site. Okay. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Kimberly's just saying, they call it booze and spirits for a reason. Yeah, I remember being in the bar one day, and it was actually a corporeal I saw do this. They're sitting in the bar, and all of a sudden they scream out, because they fell off their stool and landed flat in their back. Didn't spill a drink. And all you hear is this, help, somebody stole my stool. Needless to say, it caused an interesting uproar. Let us take a look at this. There's a whole pile of stuff I don't really have to worry about, but let's hit that. Okay, I was just looking at emails and what have you to make sure if anything came in, and nope. But I will take a look at it as soon as it arrives, Kimberly. The reality of it is we have been taught to fear. Now, the reason I started off on the note I did, okay, is, I've been trying to avoid. Well, no, I've been successfully avoiding. That makes sense, Kimberly. Here I am thinking, oh, you're more organized than I am. You've got it all laid out. And do I have... I don't think I've found that yet. Some of the pictures I've been working with, I have come across. Because I keep saying I'm going to show you guys some of the pictures that I've already got that are coming up in the second printing. Okay, because, I've got an artist, Chris, out of Texas, that's doing a fabulous job on illustrating races of the world. And we've only got, he's got the next 5 in, so we've only got 20. We've got 20, I think 15 races left after that. So at its present, I've started doing final edit to get all the new information in. Yeah, no, unfortunately. And this is why I read some what's going on in the chat, because some of you, there are many people that just listen. They just pop in and listen for a while. Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, just as I usually do, we are currently sitting at 353 subscribers, and we've got 9 people in the chat room. This is a real nice start. Yeah, I cannot speak to what you're looking at. Tech and I, as you guys well know, doesn't work well for me. But when I asked about the bully thing, it's because of this. I was raised in a church. Okay, I was actually baptized Roman Catholic, raised broadband Protestant. We had a new minister every 3 or 4 years. Okay, they created a bit of a problem, so I walked away from the church and later became a minister. Okay, so do I believe in God? Absolutely. Do most of the off-world races believe in a God? Absolutely. Not always the same one. They've got a different name for it. They've got different rituals, that sort of thing. Okay. But ultimately, it's the same thing. But the thing I find with many, many, many spiritual guides here, whether we are talking mainstream religions, the so-called pagan religions, the different people that call themselves independent guides, so many go, do this. It's the only way to do it. Okay. And if you don't do it, your life is going to get really messy. Okay. So from that standpoint, when somebody says do this or you're going to suffer, okay, I will tell you right now, if we do nothing with the way society is running right now, society will continue to slide downhill. That's just the way it's going to go. If you don't alter the way things are going, your life will continue to go in the direction it is. Okay. Now, when we're dealing with one of the things I did find, I should go and get, do I have a picture of it? I don't even know how to get the picture there. Wonder if I can do it this way. Go to Facebook and see what I got going there, because I might be able to grab something from there. But, the funny part about it, let us go to there and see if we can grab the picture. I don't know if we can or not. Let us, no, I don't want to do that. See profile, yeah, we want to see it. So I can actually copy it. There we are. Now, if we right click and click that, we copy that. Let's see if I can pop that in here. What? You go copy the image, but I don't think that works. Nope. So let's see if we can do it this way. There we go. Well, that might be it. I don't know. Well, that didn't work all that well. I was trying to get a picture over to you, but that's just not going to work today. And the reality is trying to piece together how to do this sort of thing is, to say the least, a little difficult for me. Perfect. Checking for it. I'm going back to refresh it right now. Okay, let us take a look. Just waiting for the side for my email to refresh. Okay, well, that didn't go well. So let's see if it ended up in the spam bin. It shouldn't have, but it might have. No, none of that matters. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get here. So I'm going to keep an eye out for it and see what I can. As soon as I've got it, I'll let you know. Because it usually quite often takes a little bit of time. But here's the thing. Okay. We talk about, if you don't do something, like, I know this is part of the problem you've run into, Kimberly, if you're like even a remote fraction of what we've gone through, of what people have gone through. Okay. The moment you say something to the effect, well, let's get back to where it was so I can actually see it. The moment you say something to the effect of, what did you put? The first one. There we go. The moment you say, I saw an alien, or I think I saw an alien, so many people, even the people in the field that I've run into, will look at you and go, "Oh, that's not possible." Even the ones that believe, that claim to believe it. Now, fortunately, the ones in here, okay, and many of the people in the different chat rooms that I've gone into are really good about it. But I'll tell you, the moment you say, "I think I've seen an alien," or "I think I was abducted," or "I think I've had contact," so many people look at you and go, "That's not possible." Even the ones working in the field. And for me, that becomes a bit of a question as to how you can just categorically write it off. For me, I just figure, it's just plain normal to have that kind of thing happen. And I would love to know. I got to check one thing there, Kimberly. Did you by any chance make sure that you sent that to yahoo.ca and not .com? Because if it went to .com, it won't get to me. But, I look at it and I go, okay, many of the religions out there, many of the spiritual guides will tell you, do exactly what I say or you're going to be punished. Okay. Now, one of the biggest problems I run into is the number of religions and spiritual guides that go, "Oh, we're going to get, this select few people is going to be picked up. We're chosen. So God, the aliens, somebody's going to come down, yank us off of this world so they can clean the whole thing, put us back, and we can start over." Okay. I hear so many people going, when are the aliens going to show themselves? And, from everything I've seen, not going to happen. Not on a major base anyway. Okay. Because the reality of it is, if aliens on the whole were to turn around and go, "Here we are," the entire superstructure of society will collapse. Okay. Why? Because we've been taught that we're alone in this world. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I'm a pretty firm believer we got company. But I'm not here to prove it to one person or the other. I love talking to flat earthers on occasion because they'll tell me, the world's flat. And as my son pointed out, he goes, "Well, why would they come to the conclusion that Earth is flat when they fully acknowledge that every other heavenly body out there, every other planet is round? What kind of a wingnut would have taken a planet and made it completely flat?" Okay, like, where's the rationality to it? I'm still refreshing the email to see if it shows up here, Kimberly. And thus far, nothing. Well, let's see what's gone down here because I'm sure I missed some people. What we're looking at is, how do we turn this all around? Okay, how do we come to terms with these different things that you are going through? Never mind what anybody else is going through. Okay, I'm just going to go sideways here, and I will tell you, like I said, there are 12 different reptilian races I've dealt with. Okay, Struzosians, which are 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall, Tekla, which are about 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall. Well, more to the point, they're 3.5 to 5.5 long. They're about 4 feet tall. You know, you've got your Tormenon, you've got your let's try that again. Sure, pull blanks on names right now. That always works well. That is going to be a while, it would appear. Yep. Still not showing up, so that's okay. I will just have to keep an eye out for it. Hopefully, because I can't tell. I can tell you this there. And people around here know technology for me does some really, really stupid things on occasion. But no, the reality of it is this. There we go. Kimberly. That is, what do we got here? It has just arrived. I'm just taking a quick peek. Oh, bonus. Let's see if I can blow that up so I can actually read it. There's an idea. If we turn that on, get that out of the way, and we'll see what happens if I take this and print it so I can actually get a close look at it. Major factor here. You said it was reptilian, the ones that you ran into. Okay. It's just trying to get, the printer's just translating it right now. I'm looking at this sketch, and that sketch, it's got two components to it. Okay. Oh, or cat. Okay. The ship you've drawn. Okay, if we ignore the color band underneath it, the actual ship you've drawn there is a Martokian. Okay. Now, Martokians are really odd. They look humanoid. Okay. But they are, considering the fact they're greenish in color, they aren't short, but they are greenish. It is quite possible to look at that, especially if you're in a bit of a panicky state, and look at that and see it as a reptilian. Are we not printing, or is it just arguing? Yeah, lighting will do all sorts of things. Now here's the other thing. If it was reptilian, okay, the Chitauri are a reptilian race. They are not actually an off-world race. Okay, but because they actually evolved over in Africa. Okay, but they're about human sized. We're waiting for that to pop up. Yeah, that would be normal, especially if you were in a mass collection. Okay. The reality of it is that both of the races I've spoken about, okay, well, quite frankly, all of them, all have their own personalities of the whole 9 yards. You know, and many of them are still operating by old rules as well. In other words, let's fear everything around us. Now, the nice part about it, yeah, that's just normal pickup. That so-called MRI machine is what they use to make certain that they're not bringing up any unaccounted for illnesses. Okay. And you'll notice that it was floating through the thing. You know, that's because they don't require the mechanicals. They literally use anti-gravity to make it happen. Okay. Now, the thing you have to remember, and everybody's got to remember this, it doesn't matter what race, what species, where you come from. Every individual is of equal value. Not of equal, and not monetarily speaking, obviously. Okay. but they're all pretty much the same. It's just the off-worlders seem to have better toys. Okay, the neat part about it, I mean, just make sure, Kimberly, if you want us to start, saying you're nuts or something like that, just let me know. Because I'll tell you, from my standpoint, not going to happen. But I've been asked weirder things. But we have to take a look at, are you going to live in fear, or are you going to live in love? In other words, are you going to worry about whether or not what you've done in the past has created problems? Oh, bonus. No, the reality of it is, much of what we experience, as an experiencer, absolutely, most people question to start with, but if you've been doing it since you were 5, this is just a normal thing for you. Have you considered writing them down, Kimberly? Okay, one thing I do find helps, hence why I do as much writing as I do, is that writing down what you've gone through. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Abnormally normal. It's like I keep telling people, buddy of mine actually bought me a magnet to put in my fridge. It says, I don't suffer from insanity. I'm crime. I enjoy every minute of it. For me, it really boils down to this. We have to look at the world we're dealing with and go, am I going to fear it, or am I going to see what I can do with it? Okay. And the choice is yours, which way you go with it. My personal suggestion is to find a way to make whatever you're going through, to find some value in it, to find something positive out of it that does help you. And one of the biggest things that we look at here, when I'm taking a look at the world, okay, when I'm taking a look at the world, I go, okay, why, pray tell, are people still going down this path? Well, here's why people are going down the path. Okay. The reality of it is this. We are taught that we are supposed to fear everything. We are taught, and sadly, in most cases, and was brought up early. Okay. We are, quite frankly, as a society, being bullied by religious leaders, spiritual leaders, politicians, the educational system. All of it is geared to, it almost appears to be geared to, let's fear it. And if you don't agree with me wholeheartedly, I'm going to give you a label that makes you feel like you're less of an individual. Now, the sad part is, this is happening so much more often and in such greater extremes than I ever considered. Okay. Not only are the so-called upper echelon teaching people this, you're now doing it to yourselves. Okay, I heard what I consider one of the silliest things the other day. They are trying, there's a group of people now pushing to have the term blacktop. Okay, and I know that's a complete sidetrack. Pushing to have the term blacktop, as in referring to the road, changed to gray top, because black is going to offend people because of the color. And I'm telling you, and I know this will tick somebody off. Hopefully not YouTube. Okay. But in my opinion, what are you going to do? If we start going down the road of, we got to change the color, the term blacktop to gray top, because the color black is going to offend somebody. What are we doing with the rest of the colors? Okay. What are we possibly going to do with the rest of the colors? If we're no longer going to be able to call it blacktop, I thought it was bad before, but it's getting downright stupid in my eyes. at this point, I tried avoiding this, but it's gotten to the point I can't exactly. China is now trying to claim the moon for themselves. Of course, the problem there is they haven't talked to the people living on it. It's like when, I think it was Elon Musk or somebody anyway, talked about colonizing Mars. But Mars is occupied. Okay. Now, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty certain that if you colonize a planet that's already occupied or colonize a continent that's already occupied, is that not called an invasion? This is a stupidity that is being propagated worldwide at this point. And I call it absolute stupidity. Because what do you think would happen if, let's say, considering it's in the news so much, what do you think would happen if all of a sudden Russia were to go, we're going to colonize North America? How well do you think that'd go over? Okay. Or, of course, now that people are complaining about blacktop, because using the name of the term blacktop is going to offend somebody. What do we do with bananas or lemons? Like, what color are they supposed to be? This is just that slippery slide. And I don't mind people coming up with the ideas. My question is why anybody's buying into them, especially the ones that are supposed to be leading the countries. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, I've seen this happen multiple times on multiple different planets. Okay. For me, traveling from one planet to another is just normal. Thank heavens I leave somebody else to drive. Because I'll tell you, I can't get around my own city without getting lost. And that's been proven more often than I care to count. But if you're going, I do strongly recommend people find brotherhood, find support in a church, a temple, a coven, a support group. Doesn't matter, wherever you can find support. But if you're going to a place on a regular basis that is telling you, fear this person because they will retaliate, they are vicious, they are violent, they are vindictive. These are not the qualities of a God, by the way. A God does not require worshipers. Okay. But if you're going to somebody that is telling you, do this or you will suffer, that's called bullying. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't worship any bully, and I grew up under a lot of them. Okay. I've dealt with the shadow people, with what people call the shadow people. I've dealt with shadow walkers, Terrian tropes, you name it. I've probably dealt with the thing. Okay. I like the Korlock. They're amoebic. But here's a new one. Well, this is actually an old one for some of you. This little book here. If you take a look at this individual, well, let's get it over here. There we go. This individual here. That didn't work well. This is just a standard sized human. Okay. This chap here, that is a Srazazian. Okay. Now this is actually, in all fairness, it's patterned after a really good friend of mine. Yeah, when I talk about having friends in high places, that doesn't surprise me. Okay. Unfortunately, not all off-worlders are nice. Okay, they really aren't. Oh, Shadow, glad you can make it. I am, I wish I could say something. I could apologize for them not saying anything. But Shadow is one of the people that he's got a chat room of a YouTube channel of his own. Works with little figures, with making figures, does a fabulous job with he and his son. But I really strongly recommend, if you're interested in the little figure painting. Okay, is that one up there? No, I moved it away. I could go and get it, but I will bring it in. I'll bring in a few tomorrow. That doesn't surprise me. The neat part there, Kimberly, is Yeshua is known, and it tells you that right in the Bible, that Yeshua is known by many names on many worlds. Don't ask me where I found where that's written. I could never quote passages. I just know it happens to be real that he's been there. And many of the races take a look at him in the form that he shows up over there and goes, okay, we're just not dealing with that. Yeah, I mean, that's why I get a kick out of watching some of what you do. I've actually got it to the point I found out with the figures I've been painting. I should go and get one, but where is it over there? It is not. But no, I did finish the one figure that I was looking at the other day. Yeah, I kind of gathered that, but the reality, I kind of gathered that UFOs and the paranormal are another of your passions, given that I've given some of the shows that you end up frequenting. The funny thing is that the interest in off-worlders and the interest in off-worlders, the interest in what they call the second coming, okay, is growing. The neat part from my standpoint, because I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since June of '76, an average of twice a week. Okay, still to this day. I mean, that's how I bring New Year's in, which was funny from my end. The stroke I had a few years ago, that wouldn't even keep me away from the gaming table. That's what I call a diehard gamer. So you're going to have to literally kill me to get me away from the gaming table, it would seem. I don't doubt they did. And you understand something very much there, Kimberly. Just like on Earth, not all of any given race has one set of beliefs. They are not, not all of them are creeps. Not all of them are nice. Okay. You cannot, just like you can't on Earth, you cannot effectively go, all of this race is problematic. I don't like noises like that. Because of the fact that every one of the races, it was literally when I got murdered back in 1968. Okay, it was humans that did that. It was a Srazazian female and a couple of hermetically trained compatriots that actually saved my life. Okay, it was neat how they returned me, because I ended up in the morgue and had to walk out. But what the heck? Around here, we've got some very interesting people. Hopefully sooner or later, like Nathan usually shows up from the quantum show, and he gets into some really neat topics on his show. Okay, but the nice little part about it. What do we got? You do recall, Mr. L, that is, as a matter of fact, why don't we do that part of it? Yeah, some of them, like I do know some people of the different races. Where are we? Here's Nathan's show here. Some people from the different races. Whoop, I didn't hit send. That's your link there, Shadow. And this one is to Nathan's. But, many people, even on Earth, many people do not believe in the power of prayer. Okay. They really don't. Okay. But then they also don't believe in the power of manifestation, which is why so many people sit back and go, I'm just going to wait for it to straighten itself, for somebody to straighten it out. God's going to come and fix this. The aliens are going to come down and straighten this mess out. My parents are going to straighten out my room. Well, I'll tell you, my parents had a real neat way of straightening out my room. Nathan, how you doing? Hey, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Now, why, pray tell, wondering why that did not. Nope, don't want that. I'm just checking because that thing never printed. And I don't know why. No, we don't need to do that. Okay, fine, we'll do it that way. Of course, my computer's going to have interesting problems right now. I think that's just the way it's supposed to work half the time. There we are. Yeah, I'm over here at my paper because, well, that seems to be part of the problem. There we go. Yeah, I know I wander around and talk to myself. As you guys know, that's just part and parcel of my day. That should do it. Now, what did I miss? Well, that's just it. I mean, if you think about it there, Mr. L, well, that was not what I had in mind. What if that's because it didn't print properly? It didn't want to print properly, which is possible. I don't know what happened to the picture. Okay, I will, Kimberly. I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time. Computers and I argue all the time anyway. It just doesn't tend to. Things don't always work out the way I'd like them to. But no, let's not do that. What I'm gonna have to do, but I'm just looking. I was trying to see what that ship was, and like I said, by its configuration, it is likely Martokian. It may, however, be Talon by the coloring you've got on the bottom. And if it was Talon, that would make a lot of sense. They are not Talon are not reptilian. Okay, but they are known to work with the smaller shadow people. They don't want the bigger ones there because they outsize them way too much. But no, the reality of it there is that most people are afraid of what they've come to understand as God, especially on this planet. And I see it on other ones as well. If you don't do what this entity does, it says, he will punish you. I love what they do with Nataj. Okay. The ones that worship her. It's absolutely priceless because it's not that you'll be punished. It's if you don't do what you're told, you'll be eaten. Ultimately, Mr. L, it really boils down to looking in the mirror and going, I am worth it. I have the same power over things as you do. Okay, I found this out when dealing with corporations. If you don't come across as though you're the one in charge, they will walk on you. And this is something we have been taught, that humans have been taught over the centuries. And many of the off-world races have the same problem. Okay. what do we got here? Just reading what Mr. L wrote a little earlier. Why do so many people not use the power? They're just too afraid of the entity, or they don't understand. They don't actually understand. And it's told, we are told quite clearly. See, I know of a couple of felines. One is Therianthropic, the other one is Lemurian. Okay. And both of these are feline. Really nice people if you get to know them. But most people, the spiritual teachings actually tell you that you have, all that God does. He created you in his image. You're allowed to, you can do the same thing. And humans instinctively know how to work with 0 point energy. We can create a better world. But we've got to accept the fact that, yes, we've got freedom of choice. We've got freedom, we've got freedom of will. What we don't have freedom from is we do not have freedom from consequence. In other words, what you do, what you put out there is what's coming back. Now, some people believe that if you put something out there on a positive level, or whatever you put out comes back threefold. Some people believe that if you put it out on positive, it comes back only the same. If you put it out negative, it comes back threefold. Standard marketing tells you that it kind of corroborates that, because if you go out to a restaurant and you get good service, or in a more localized setup, if you read a book that's really good, if you go, but let's stick to the restaurant. If you go to a restaurant that you get really good service and you're really happy, the average thing they found out over the last 100 years or so is that the average person will tell 2 people, oh, I went to this restaurant, it was great. Or they'll turn around, if they have a bad experience, they'll turn around and tell 10 people. Okay. I could go to the facetious standpoint here and ask if the Catwoman alien that he saw wears black tights like they do, or black leatherette like they do in Batman. But rest assured, I've run into felines that are just absolutely brilliant people. That are just absolutely the nicest people you run into. Sadly, if they get mad, they will rip your face off. Only they're not speaking about it facetiously. The biggest problem we have, and people keep asking me, why doesn't God just show up and go, I'm back? Well, it tells you right in the Bible. He came in with like a lion before. He came in like a thief. He's coming in like a thief in the night. Now, I know for an absolute certainty he's already here, and he is not impressed. Okay. But he ain't coming in the way people think. Okay. And the reality of it is, people that claim to be walking down that path have got to start focusing on the idea of treating the people around them. Okay, and this is why I only follow 3 laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Okay, now take a look at the laws and the guidelines you follow and ask yourself this. Okay, do they fit inside those 3 laws that I follow? Okay, if they don't, if you've got one that you follow that doesn't fit there, please drop me a line and let me know. I think I know how to do that. I am going to have to do that. And Kimberly, just to let you know, I am going to figure out a way to print that thing off in black and white, because I think the problem with the picture is, as much as my printer is designed for color, it's technology, and me and it don't get along at the best of times. Okay, but we have a serious choice to make, and it really is kind of a critical issue. Okay, and that is, are we going to continue living in fear and replicating what we've been taught, or are we going to find a way that fits a little better? Because I don't know about you, but I don't follow people I'm afraid of. Okay. Primarily because, well, I'm afraid of them. Usually for me, if I've got fear about something, I'm going the other direction or I'm disregarding it. I remember a guy pulling a gun on me one day, and he looks at me, and he goes, it was funny because he just pointed the gun at me and told me to give him his money, and I'm like, I just basically ignored him. The one with the knife was much funner because he goes, "Give me your wallet," and I looked at him and I looked at the knife and I went, "Why?" You can have a lot of fun, but you got to be careful. And the thing is, the way I talk and the way I jump all over the place. By the way, I was tested, and no, I do not have ADHD. What I do have is a very hyperactive mind and a mouth that just doesn't shut up half the time. But we have to make a decision. Are we going to continue living in fear? Are we going to continue going, I desire the world to be better? Okay, but I don't want to change anything. I looked at my office and went, I'm not content with my office the way it is. So I decided I was going to shift gears on it and alter the thing. Okay, net result, if you look back at my old videos, you'll see that things have changed here. But if you're sitting, yeah, no doubt. I always find Geminis are a lot of fun. They'll sit there and argue with themselves. You say and throw a second Gemini in, you can absolutely have cacophony. Because everybody agrees with everybody and argues at the same time. It's wonderful to watch. Mind you, in all fairness, it gets to be a little frustrating, which is why I walk away from most of the complicated discussions. Like I don't bother listening to politics because what I find with most of the political arena is it goes around in circles and does some really, really dense things. But in all fairness, every single entity in existence every single entity is a politician. Just to put that in perspective there, Kimberly. I myself am Taurian, but I've actually got a dual birth date. So I'm actually Taurian with a Grand Cross in fixed signs. And because of the fact I walked out of the morgue, I'm also a Leo, which needless to say is a bit complicated. And it might be part of the problem. But again, we have to remember. Now, we work with astrology based on Earth. Okay. Other races also work with astrology, but it is based on, their astrology is based on their home world. See, just on a slight sidetrack here, where it comes to, because I've been an astrologer for 20 years now, I guess. Okay. And I found some neat little things. You've got Aries, which is one of what I call the God signs. They think they're God. They've got no foundation for it usually, but they do believe it. Then you've got Scorpio, who know they're God. And if you give them one or two areas of expertise, you can bet they know what they're talking about. And then you've got Leo. And whatever you do, Mr. L, don't take offense to this one, because like I said, I'm half Leo anyway. But Leo is the one that just can't figure out why people just don't accept the fact that they're God. Okay. And get over it. But, then we have me, Taurian. Don't care who calls who God. Just get out of the way and let me do what I'm doing. Right? I mean, that's just me. And yes, every other sign has wonderful, unique traits as well, but there's not one that is better than another. Okay. And, I very definitely have everybody everybody in existence is unique, but we all follow very similar patterns. Okay. And what I mean by that is we're taught to fear, and most of us buy into it for the longest time. Okay, it's time we put the fear behind us. Now, I got told years ago that the easiest way to get a message across would be start a church, which is a great idea, until you realize that the mainstream churches have locked that up and made it legally impossible, almost impossible to start one. Okay, but I take a look at that, and I've always held, and the people that are in here regularly or on other shows I've been in know full well the last thing I ever desired to do was step up onto a pedestal. I've had to re-examine astrology, numerology, religion, the whole political arena, the educational arena. All of it has work to be done on it. But the systems themselves are decent. Okay. They need a little bit of tweaking. They definitely require people that are going to be honest moving into them. And the one thing I will tell you, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. Okay. Overthrowing any country, overthrowing any corporation is not a functional maneuver. Okay. I see it happen quite regularly. It's kind of bizarre to me. A big company will look at a small one and go, hey, you guys have some things that are happening that are really good. So we're going to buy your company. And then they completely swap it around and wonder why the company buckles. It's just weird. Which is why I looked at it and went, no, I'm going to build an empire, assuming I don't die permanently here before that. But I'm going to start by building a publishing company that isn't going to look at the books and go, oh, you're not good enough to publish, or that poem isn't good enough. I will look at some of them and go, I'm not publishing it. Okay, but not because it's not good enough. Simply because I'm not putting my name behind it. But I'm working on the specs for that. But any of you out there, if you've got a goal, if you've got a project that you've been working on, the only thing about any project, even if you had it way back when you were, 16, 17 years old, and you went, I'd really like to do this, and then life got in the way. Okay, it's not too late to do it. It may be too late to do it by the time. Oh, reincarnation traps. Reincarnation, I'll tell you, works like an absolute charm. I'm living proof of it. I don't know about the concept of the traps, but I will tell you this, that reincarnation, your past lives do affect your present. Okay. And quite often they set the stage for what you're choosing to come into, for what kind of life you're coming into. I went through this the other day on one of my recent videos, one of my recent live streams. But the idea of a reincarnation trap, I'm not entirely certain what you're referring to. Oh, what do we got here? Oh, the white light's fine. It's fine. Go into the white light. That always works because I'm always blind when I get there. But I will tell you, the idea there, that's because when you're approaching it, the peace and the love that is in some areas of the afterlife is phenomenal. In purgatory, what you would call purgatory, not so much a bright light, but boy, is there a lot of noise. Myself, I went way past the idea of near-death experiences. Okay, I went straight to the dead and gone. Just to clarify that, Kimberly, from what I've seen, not entirely fake, but I understand why you're looking at it that way. Many people, what happens when they're going across, just so it makes a little more sense possibly. When they're on the edge of dying, the last memories they've got are literally of the people they were attached to, that they really felt connected to, that maybe they're still missing. For instance, a grandfather, a grandparent, or a dear pet, or a family member or a good friend that passed before. And they remember that feeling and utilize that as an anchor to get back. Now, sometimes it does happen. Okay, when I got brought back the first time, I wasn't asked, I wasn't guided back. They grabbed me and said, "You're going back." I keep joking about it, going, God doesn't want me and Satan's afraid I'll take over. So they keep shipping me back here. But, there is a lot of misinformation out there. The funny part about it is most people that talk about the white light and about near death, that's exactly what it is. They get close to the threshold and then they come back. In my case, I didn't bother with the close to it. I went straight through the threshold, got over here, and then ended up coming back. I keep getting told I'm not done here, which is why I worked it out the other day. And again, this is why I say, do I believe wholeheartedly in God myself? Absolutely. On a couple of my trips over there, I talk to the man, and I'll use the term man really loosely. I just don't want to put all the options in. Okay. On many of the trips I've made over there, I've been told the same thing. You've got a job to do. You're not done yet, so get back down there. Okay. But I like the way you look at that, Shadow. Yeah, I tried telling them, I made the mistake, Kimberly. I said, get me off this planet. Okay. And quite frankly, at about 2 years old, somewhere around 2 years old, I was taken off the planet. What I forgot to say was, don't bring me back. Okay. Net result, I keep ending up back here. But no, the fact that the fact of the matter is that careful there, Shadow. I mean, I've seen some phenomenal things out there. Okay, but I will tell you, the plant life on this planet is so much better than the plant life over on Zeta Reticuli. Carl, glad to see you could join us. Hey, Ange, how you doing? I'm glad you joined us. No, I'm just trying to catch up here. Oh, yeah, no, the reason, and in all fairness, it does actually happen that you do run into your loved ones as you're going across the border. But you are right there, Carl. Once you're over there, quite often you're rejoining with your soul family and seeing if you can figure things out. The problem is, of course, and I talked about this the other day, and intriguingly enough, I go into it in a lot more stable detail in the Yldrbacian in the first book of the Yldrbacian Chronicles, called Where It All Began. I literally go into the detail of how that whole soulmate, soul family, twin flame, all of that fits together. Did I say hi to you already there, Paul? I think so, but I honestly don't recall. But then we know my memory is kind of like a sieve. It holds on to things pretty much the same way that a sieve holds on to water. But we have a choice. We can continue down the road of going, what can we fear? What can we absolutely panic on in order to really take a look at the negative side of things? Or is there something else that we can focus on like what happens here, and I see this all the time. You know, this place is more of a family to me, and I never thought this would happen. This chat room has way more support in it than I figured I would ever get. Mind you, in all fairness, as you guys that know me already know, this gentleman here, his show, I've been on for 8 years regularly. Okay, and it's a week Friday, I'll be back on it. But Dave over at Space Out Radio, okay, has always been supportive of what I've been going through. I mean, it's been phenomenal. You know, but I never thought, I mean, I'm reclusive to start with, as you well know. But we have to start looking at this world and going, how can we possibly connect? How can we, and there's an easy how, but we've got to stop listening to the people that are telling us you have to fear everything. Because if you're told, fear me, because if you don't fear me, I'm going to do this. That's where we run into the problem. You must worship this person, or you must look up to me because I've got so much money and I've got so much political clout, or I've got so much creative clout. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to make your life miserable. And some of them can. Okay. But is this any reason to stand there and, to stand there and go, oh, I'm going to bow down to this person? I don't do it all that well. Matter of fact, pretty much every boss I've ever had, I told them, thanks for letting me know what the rules are. Now I know which ones not to listen to. And by the way, on a comment like that, I got to follow it up with this. The written laws of the land in which you are, okay, absolutely make sure you follow them. Okay, because I don't know about you, but the fines for not following them and the complications that come from breaking laws aren't worth the effort. It's just not worth it from that end. But it's time that we really look in the mirror and go, okay, am I content with the way my life is? If the answer is yes, this is a great thing. If the answer is no, then it might be time to look elsewhere, and see what else you can actually focus on. Oh, by the way, guys, had to replace that. That's my heart tonic. I got a brand new one in the cupboard now because that one I emptied. I'm glad, the reality of it, people, is this. We've got to change the way we're doing things. We've got to change where the emphasis is. Now, I'm going to show you something I've never actually brought up before. I'm a firm believer that where it comes to gifts, and I know that's a complete, where did that come from? Came from the fact I had to move it. This little thing here, I got from my son when he was in grade 2. Okay, that's been on my desk for the last 23 years. Okay, because it's just a coffee holder. But, I got it in grade, I got it when he was in grade 2. And it's always sat on my desk for 23 years now. But this is one of those things, again, I look at the whole path that life is on, and I go, look, I'm not telling you believe what I say. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you flat out, do your own research. Okay. I do hope, before you disappear on me there, Kimberly, I do hope that you do and that you come back and join us. Our topics range all the way across the gamut. I mean, you can pull a card out of a hat, and you'll find something we've been discussing. The reality of it is that when we are looking at the way our life and the way this life is, okay. Glad to hear it there, Kimberly. Yeah, I've got a file cabinet full of my paperwork from my kids' school years. Some of it I have gotten rid of, but the majority of it I've still got. It's just absolutely bizarre. I never understood it when I was growing up. I thought keeping things was just normal. Because in my case, starting with my grandfather born in 1902, every single one of us, hey Jenny, glad you could join us. Starting with my grandfather born in 1902, every member of our bloodline became a pack rat. So I thought that was just plain normal. Okay, but I'm the first one in my bloodline that I'm aware of that has actually broken that pack rat thing. I'd love you to share it there, Joe. And obviously, if because we're doing it through chat, obviously we're dealing with synopses because it's going to be a hard run to get all the way out there. But the reality of it is that every one of you have had experiences, and it's that combination of experiences. Every one of you has a strength. Every one of you has a weakness. Now, I heard somebody the other day go, don't concentrate on improving your weaknesses. And I'm sitting there going, why? I used to have a massive memory problem where it came to names. Okay. And that kept being the same way. That kept happening the same, in the same light. I kept saying, I just don't have it. And I just wouldn't improve until I all of a sudden started telling myself, my memory for names is getting better. Okay. And as soon as I started doing that, my memory for names started to improve. My ability to sit still hasn't done much. Keep looking at this sheet of paper because I was looking at something earlier. This is one of those things that other people just can't. This is what's called organization, or lack thereof. What's that? If she's done. Yeah, I just got sidetracked. Really bad habit of mine. I'm sure some of you are aware of that already. Oh, there we are. J is there. K. Those can be checked off. The fact of the matter is that when you're looking to change the direction and the patterning that your life has been going down. Yep. Well, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, Kimberly and Joe in this case. There is, under Lake Michigan, there is, and that's why you get the ships going in. Under Lake Michigan, under Lake Okanagan up here in Kelowna, BC. Okay. And a number of other lakes and offshore places. There are access points to underground complexes. This does not mean that you should go rushing down there and try to find them. Okay. Because quite frankly, if you're not invited, the odds are they're not going to be any happier with you getting into their house than you are with them getting into yours. Yeah. Temperature is dropping here, which is a good thing. But no, we have to really take a look at the world and decide, are we going to continue, are we going to continue living in fear, living in, paying attention to people saying, oh, that's the creator, so you should fear him. I don't know about you, but I just don't fear bullies well. Okay, I never did. I remember even with corporeal human bullies. I remember a couple of kids coming up to me in the ballpark one day going, we're going to beat you up because we don't like the way you look. My response to them was, oh, and I turned my back on them and walked off. They didn't do anything, but, the reality of it is, you don't, first and foremost, do not blame the people you're listening to. They've been trained by people that taught them the same way. This is where you run into the interesting complications. The other thing is you have to remember that any choice you make, any choice at all, is not somebody else's responsibility. It's yours. There are very, very, very few people that actually can control how somebody responds. I'm just looking. Joe just wrote here. The encounter happened in Pinconning, Michigan in 2002. Her boyfriend, he's deceased now, but he spent the night up there one night, and the UFO shot a red light through the cabin, shook it all. Shook it too. And yeah, the thing that you got to remember with optical scanners is if you do it, and that was an amateur on the scanner, I can tell you that, because if you misalign it, you'll actually vibrate the building you're scanning, which, by the way, if you use that as a weapon, can really turn into a mess. Kimberly's just adding for us. There was a documentary on Lake Michigan a few years back, and the ones who lived in a certain area on the water had gray alien experiences. That makes sense. The grays are the short grays are your scientists. Most of them are absolutely neutral. They just simply are there for science. Okay, but you got to remember, the gray aliens from Zeta Reticuli, okay, are, and I'm still trying to get them to actually slow their speech down enough so that I can actually at least come up with a name that sort of fits. Some of the names I know these guys by are rough English translations, because I'll tell you, it's really hard to understand some of their languages. But no, the gray aliens, that makes total sense. But those guys go out of their way to make certain people don't have major problems after the visit. That's just part of the way they deal with it. See, the grays I've got friends in the gray community, mind you. I've got, when I say I've got friends in high places, I've got friends that are, well, they're in orbit, right? Even the planet itself, the one we're standing on, okay, standing, sitting, lying, however you're set up, okay, that is a Caboran. A Caboran is it's a race of planets. Now, not every planet is a Caboran, okay, but the ones that are do have their own names. Okay, they've got their own language, and they are really nice people. But it's a question of, humans are the caretakers on this planet. And frankly, because we've been teaching each other to live in fear for so long, it's become absolutely bizarre. Yeah, I'm just scanning through what's been going down in the chat room. Sometimes I'll talk, a lot of the time, and this is why I say, if you've got a question, absolutely come right out and ask. Oh, here's the other thing, and I put this on there, but I have found that it doesn't stay put. So, if you're looking for any of the books that I've written, okay, this is where to go to find them. Okay. And of course, the reality of it is that'll tell you what they're about. That will tell you, what the cost is, because shipping is killing me. And that's something, well, not really, but you get the idea. Yeah, I get a kick out of this in the chat room. And this is why I say, guys, if you're not in the chat room, it's really neat to drop in, because some of the conversations, the people in here are almost exchanging addresses. Not quite, but, but this is what I mean by this family here is getting closer and closer and more supportive. And this is something that I hope to replicate across the globe. When we take a look at many of the religions out there, they talk about a unified approach. until you do the research. I'll tell you right now, I'm a very different individual, but if you ever do end up meeting me and talking to me face to face, you'll find I'm exactly the same way. I still end up going around in circles. The one difference is I don't tend to put my hands together a lot. More often than not, if I'm talking to somebody, I've got these things hanging on me. But that can be annoying for people. In all fairness, Jenny, some of them have real problems. There is something called that I learned to call pangalactic trade. Okay, well, more to the point, it's called Pangalactan, which boils down to a universal trade language that they all share in as much as they can. But there are some are telepathic. Most have a spoken language. Okay. There are some that cannot speak a spoken language, period. Okay. Simply because they are not built that way. Arboreans do not speak an actual vocal language. Okay. Arboreans are, well, if you follow the Tolkien series, Arboreans are your walking trees. Absolutely there, Ange. And this is the thing that we really have to enforce, have to reinforce. But yeah, most of them find a way. Now, I will tell you this. The Greys don't really speak English well, but they usually have Nordics with them. And the Nordics speak perfect English. Well, they speak, I don't know if anybody on Earth even speaks perfect English, but the Nordics do speak a very viable English. This is one of the reasons why the Greys keep them. See, the Greys talk in more of clicks and clacks, but their whole communication line isn't done with the tongue. It's done with the vocals at the bottom of the throat. And before anybody asks, no, the way my throat is seizing up right now, not a prayer. But I did that one day. I had an interesting conversation on Dave's show. That was just priceless a few years back. And he ought to be having some fun in the next couple of weeks here. But, yeah, I'm just, Carl, I just looked at this. You mentioned a friend that came from a place called Misery Bay. And it immediately brought to mind the movie by Stephen King called Misery. Yeah, I go sideways on occasion. But no, the reality of it is, when we look at the world the way it is right now, it's absolutely crucial that we start working towards taking that fear, taking that thing that you're worried about. Every one of you out there, I will tell you this, every single one of you is going to die. No matter how you do it, you're going to die. And it was. Carl, it was a real scary movie when you think about it, especially if you're empathic. Because I'll tell you, when she broke the author's ankles, okay, it was absolutely brutally painful from my standpoint. Not a fun show. And yet, when I watched the original Exorcist back in 1975, that didn't bother me in the slightest. But no, we've got to start looking at who you're following, who you're paying attention to. If you're listening to somebody that says, I have all the answers and I'm the only one that you can talk to, and if you don't listen to me, your life's going to get miserable. Okay, you might want to reconsider who you're listening to. Okay, I'll tell you right off the bat, I don't know everything. If I knew everything, rest assured, number one, I'd be in absolutely 100% perfect health. Okay, I know how to get there, but I'm also a professional procrastinator. But more importantly, I wouldn't be stuck on this planet. Okay. But, and the reason for that, frankly, is because people here are spending so much effort trying to hurt each other and trying to find new and exciting ways to separate themselves into smaller groups. On the one hand, we've got people going, how can we become an active member of the consortium? And it's always been the same answer. Mankind has to become a unified force. We have to look at everybody as equally valuable. Okay, but do understand, this does not mean when we talk about being unified, we are talking about a one world government, but we are not talking about one person. Okay, because I will tell you this. If you live in the Arctic, there is no way you're going to understand properly the challenges that happen to people that live in the in a tropical area. You're just not going to do it. Okay, so I'm looking at it going, we've got to realize that it's time to put the fear behind us. Okay, now I hear the strongest people go, I'm not afraid of anything. But I will tell you this, it's a known fact that, if you're 5 feet, if you're 5'6", 5'8", and somebody that is built like a freight train shows up, just a normal human topping 7 feet, then people get edgy, especially if they're bigger. If they've got kind of an aggressive demeanor to them. Okay. But what happens to that guy that's 7 feet when somebody that is 8.5 and built and grows his own armor shows up? This is one of the reasons why off-worlders don't show up on Earth. Okay. Don't show up en masse. It's also one of the reasons why the person or the people that you call God don't show up and go, okay, we're here to clean house. They're not going to do that. They gave you free will. They gave you free choice. They didn't give you freedom of consequence. Okay. And this is what we have to realize is that this mess that the world is in right now, we have the capacity to turn it around, and not through war. War has never in all of recorded history, and I mean that even on other planets, war has never brought peace. It brings quiet, but it never brings peace. Okay, I've never seen it happen in all the worlds I've been to, and in all the years I've spent on this one, and all the lifetimes I've lived through. Okay, I have never once seen a situation where war brought peace. Because sure, it brings quiet, because the guy with the biggest guns, all of a sudden, everybody's afraid, so they keep quiet. Okay, but while they're keeping quiet, they go into the underground, they go into the shadows, and they plot overturning whoever took their world. Okay. If that is happening, you're not dealing with peace. Okay. When that happens, what you're dealing with is you've chased everybody that you knew was a problem underground. And that will grow. Now, 50,000 years ago, we had absolute peace on Earth. There was no war, there was no famine, there was no fear, there was no greed. There was fear, but that was another issue. Okay. There was envy, but no jealousy. Okay, it literally was paradise. We still ended up, with all sorts, can we try English? We had challenges, but, I look at that and go, we did it once, we can do it again. But it's going to take all of us choosing to start looking for a peaceful approach. What I haven't quite figured out is how to get this message out to everybody. How to really start making that kind of an impact. I mean, it's a challenge. There's no question there. But this is one of the things, this is one of the primary things that I've been working at. Okay. Is doing my level best. And whoever just subscribed, thank you so much for that. Hey, Bomber, glad you could join us. We just hit 354. We're sitting at 12 in the chat room. Okay, I would love to break our record, and one day we will. That is absolutely correct there, Bomber. And like I've told people, what Bomber just said was if we raise our own vibration, those around us will tune to our frequency naturally. And this can be shown, this can be verified by simply looking at the way you treat people. If you go to a restaurant, okay, and you treat the waitress or treat any worker or any stranger, if you treat them decently, it's going to make them feel better. This is going, now that has a neat little bonus of helping you feel better. Okay. But what'll happen is that may be the only thing they needed to make their day a little bit better. It may have been the only thing they needed that they required to avoid punching their own ticket. Just that simple smile, that simple, how's your day? Okay. And what happens is they take that feeling, yeah, I love the reference there. I love that Bomber's just saying it's science. It's quantum healing, which is a clear reference to Nathan's show, to Nathan's The Quantum Show. Okay. Some people call it quantum healing. Some people call it Reiki. Some people call it vibratory modification. There's all kinds of names for it. But as William Shakespeare put it, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Okay. And, if you treat somebody decently, they will take that positive feeling and carry it with them and potentially treat the next person they come in contact with in a positive fashion. Okay. And this is the ripple effect that I'm looking at, that I'm here to start to generate. Now, I've been a recluse, like really badly for the last 10 years. And I finally came to the conclusion that I've got to modify that. But am I running into challenges? Yeah. Every time I listen to anything from the news, it's like, okay, that's just depressing and frustratingly stupid most of the time. I'm running out of coffee, but we're also getting down to the end, so I'm not going to go and get it yet. But I will tell you, the one thing, and I mentioned this before. By the way, Bomber, you're absolutely right. If you take two tuning forks, you set one to sing, the other will join its vibration. Glad to hear that, Joe. I'm hoping to find ways to make the chat more and more enjoyable. And the nice part about it from my end is, we're talking. I'm talking here, but I'm watching the side chats, and it's absolutely brilliant, the interaction going on there. Okay, it's absolutely wonderful. But like we were talking about the other day when I was over on Nathan's show, crystals do the exact same thing. They vibrate between each other. You set one to vibrating, the one next to it will pick up the same vibration. Okay, and they will communicate in a very stable pattern. This is why on many worlds, on many of the more advanced ones, they don't use computers. They use crystal computers. Okay, and here's a neat little newsflash for you. Take a look at the hieroglyphs in Egypt. Okay, yes, they are a language unto themselves. But they are also a computer. Okay, as in they have energy running through them that passes in a very specific fashion. Now, I've never checked, like myself, I've never talked to anybody about it, but you see it on movies all the time. Okay. Where if you push on a given panel, it will shift or it will turn. Okay. It's the same thing. I'm absolutely certain of it. That when the hieroglyphs were put there, they were put there in such a way that they were movable to start with. But the amount of sand and what have you that has come down and the amount of water and what have you that has dripped through. They say that the pyramids, for instance, are absolutely solid. There's no room between them. Telling you, the water can still get there. Or more to the point, moisture can. And you're absolutely right there, Bomber. Whenever we do anything, this is where the power of speech comes in real handy. You think about doing something, this is great. But the moment you utter it, you draw the energy out of the spiritual world into the material one where it can be made manifest. Oh, absolutely, it runs under the pyramids. That was the funny thing is back in ancient Egypt, they had power without electrical wiring. Okay, there's all sorts of things that were worked there. But this is why I say we have to really focus and start shifting our energy patterns to go, okay, I'm going to pay attention to the people that make me feel better instead of the ones that make me feel like I'm going to be beaten again just because I didn't do exactly what I was told. Now think about when you were a kid or even now. Okay, how do you respond better? Do you respond better if somebody says, well done, can you do this? Or do you respond better to somebody saying, well, you're a flaming idiot, you didn't do this right, now go and do that again? Which way do you behave? Do you respond better? I know for me personally, I don't do well on the threatening thing. Do this or I'll punish you. Well, I'm suffering already, so there ain't much you're going to do with that. But as many people as anybody can see, if you've been in this chat room even once, our topics will jump all over the place half the time. Now I will tell you this. Right over here. Yeah, I will tell you this. Uh-oh. Well, that's just it. Think about it. And, they say misery loves company. Now, I don't know who Misery is, but I'm pretty certain that she does enjoy company. But which type of people are you more likely to hang around? People that feel better, people that make you smile, or people that make you feel appreciated, or the ones that make you feel like garbage. The ones that are sitting there going, oh, my life is miserable and I hate my life and I hate this person because he's got more than I've got. Which type of people do you like hanging around? Myself, I tend to avoid the ones that make me feel like garbage. But this is why, the reason I talk about getting rid of the clutter, I'm not talking just the physical clutter. I'm talking the stuff that's in your head that is holding you back. Okay. Things like, I know way too many people that are afraid of dying. Personally, I got over the fear of dying. I'm not looking forward to doing it again. Okay. But I've done it so often, it's absolutely ridiculous. Well, 4 confirmed, medically confirmed, 5 socially confirmed, and 1 that I'm really curious about. Okay, where I passed away and then got sent back. This is why I tell people, I'm not worried about dying. God doesn't want me and Satan's afraid I'll take over. But I always look at ways, and I shouldn't say always in all fairness. I do my best to concentrate on ways that when I get off this stream, I can have at least one person feeling better about the way their day has gone. Even if I'm feeling a little bit choppy when I get on here, I still find that things feel a little better once I come on here. And like I've mentioned before, I find it really fascinating that I'll wake up, even if I take a nap in the afternoon. I mean, let's face it, I'm 59 and I got up at 2 o'clock this morning and I'm grabbing a nap for about an hour, somewhere around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Can't imagine why. That is your best move there, Ange. Just don't make the mistake I did when I was younger. And this is exactly what caused my pneumonia the other day. Okay. When I was younger, I used to absorb people's illness or people's negativity, and then pull it into my body and then let my body heal it. This is a dangerous idea. Absolutely agree with you, Paul. Sadly, most employers and most people, what they'll do is they'll yell at their employees for not doing it right. I saw one profound example. I was down in Vancouver somewhere. Don't ask me which one of the different little communities there. Well, big communities. But I was down in one of them at a McDonald's. And as I'm coming in, obviously somebody did something, and one of the staff did something wrong. So the manager catches this girl and calls her into the back office. She was only there for 2 or 3 minutes and then came back out. She had a smile on her face. Right. In other words, the guy minimized the negative side of it. So I happened to talk to him while I was waiting for my order. And I just complimented him on it. I told him it was one of the best run restaurants I'd ever run into, and that I'd ever been in. And he didn't bother taking anybody aside. He literally called out at the top of his lungs, or at least close to it, so that every one of his staff scattered throughout the restaurant could hear. He calls out and he says, "Hey guys," he says, "we just got a real compliment. We're doing a fantastic job. Keep up the good work. I really couldn't do it without you." And he just told everybody, and I mean, the look on their faces was just incredible. Yeah, the unfortunate part there, Carl, is people will drift away from you as you modify your vibratory rate. Something you may not be aware of is the higher the higher your vibration goes, the faster you're going to vibrate. Some of these people drift away because they physically can no longer see you, or they either cannot see you or they cannot hear you. Because you're now vibrating in a different pattern. If you think about it, if you've ever gone to the mall and watched somebody, you're watching the mall and there's crowds of people, and then you see this one guy or this one girl, and they're walking through an open area like this. They're not drunk, okay, but they're walking through and they seem to be avoiding people. What's happening is their vibratory rate is raising to the point where they can see these new people, and therefore they start to automatically avoid running into them. Okay, many people I've talked to have felt somebody bump into them when there's no physical evidence of it. Absolutely a good way to put it, Paul. On that note, Paul just says, I tell people to always be self-critical, but never self-doubt. Okay, the variation on that I tell people is be centered on self. don't be self-centered. Okay. Because again, karmic law is simple. Energy out, energy in. You put out the effort to be nice to people. It doesn't guarantee they'll be nice to you, but it does stack the deck in your favor. Okay. And these are just some of the things that we've really got to start, not just here. So again, we're getting down to the end here. If you haven't already given us a like on the channel, if you'd be kind enough to do so, that'd be great. And again, there's a neat little subscription button down in the bottom corner. Okay, that also works really nicely. If you'd be kind enough to do that, that will help immensely. The other thing I would love to ask is for you to share the daylights out of the live stream. This message has to get out to everybody on the planet, even the ones that don't have a computer. The message still has to get out, and that will be done with your guys' assistance, as in being nice to other people and helping them realize that they really do have value, regardless of what world they and what economic lifestyle they live in. Every single person in existence is a valuable entity. Okay, and this is what I'm aiming to strive to do at this point, which is why I was talking a few days back about the healing center I'm looking at building. Okay, ultimately, we are looking at a world that can be turned around. Now, I was always brought up to believe, that I absolutely agree with you there, Paul. This is one of the reasons why, like Paul's just saying, many people talk themselves out of things because they doubt their ability or potential, usually put into their head by others. Absolutely. Or the other one that does it is past experience. I've tried it several times and it hasn't worked, so why bother? Okay. Now, there are times when why bother does become a good idea. Just don't. Because there are times that it becomes a problem. Thank you so much, Carl. I do appreciate it. I was asked one day by somebody, I have no idea who. They sent me an email and asked me if it was permissible to just listen into the show and not come into the chat room and and not say anything. I said, absolutely. Okay, I mean, I look at it going this way. I know that there are not only 16 people listening to, I think, no, we're down to 13 right now. I think our maximum got up somewhere around 16, but I don't rightly know. I do know we got 16 thumbs up. Okay. But from my standpoint, I know that not everybody is going to be in the chat room. And the reality is, as I'm the only one working at it. Oh, thank you so much there, Bomber. Bomber's just told us it actually peaked at 22. That's close to our top. The top we've got thus far that has been recorded on YouTube was 26. Okay. Oh yeah, I think what I'll do for tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Tuesday, I think. I really don't get lost on occasion. No, most of the time. Just looking. Okay, yeah, tomorrow's Tuesday. So I should absolutely take a look at that and see what I've got. Not that the statistics matter to most of you. They matter from my standpoint, but that's because I've got a vested interest in it from that end. The reality of it is this. We have a world that I was always told, do your best to make the world a better place when you leave than it was when you got here. That's the marker to determine if you've done things in a functional fashion. So this is something I'm really strongly encouraging. Now, that said, we are hitting the 2-hour mark, and I've got a few things I've got to get done, but I keep it at the 2 hour because as you've heard, my throat's starting to seize anyway. So I will be back again tomorrow from 4:30 until 6:30. Given my computer doesn't seize on me, or I have another heart attack, can't make it. You get the idea. But I will be back tomorrow is the idea. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.